So yesterday we started chapter 2. So we're going to be talking about the size, shape, and locating stuff on the earth. So we're going to be basically talking about the globe and maps and all that good stuff about earth. We're going to take what you already know, 10th grade it up a wee bit, and teach you some new stuff about globes and maps that you might not already know. So we started right off the bat with something you had been lied to your entire life. The earth is not a perfect sphere. It is an oblate spheroid. So you should know that the shape really is take a perfect sphere. And if you were to squish that sphere, you'd make the sphere a little shorter, but then it would end up squishing out the sides and we'd have the earth that would slightly bulging around the middle. Do you need a new packet? It's the one we picked up yesterday. There you go, right there then, right next to the, yeah, that. And then here's your test. Here's your test, and I'll include the corrections paper. All right. So then we went into some details, and I believe your class got through all 3 of these yesterday. Is that correct? Or do we need to go back to any of them? We did get through them. Okay. All my classes kind of ended up in different spots depending on how many questions they asked about the test itself. So we talked about the lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. If I had to ask you, what's one way you could describe the lithosphere? What's in it? What makes it up? Like, what kind of stuff would I find in the lithosphere? What could you tell me about the lithosphere? Which is, yes, the solid part of the earth. It's crust, upper mantle, bedrock, continents, land, and the ocean floor. So everybody think right now, could you in one word, and by the way, the word is not solid, tell me what the lithosphere is made out of? Everybody think first. Think of those things. The crust. Look outside. What's the crust? The mantle, bedrocks, continents, and the ocean floor. What is that stuff? No, definitely not carbon dioxide. Dirt, rocks. It's probably a little more than dirt because we are talking about specifically like solid rocks. I would like you to, underneath the word lithosphere, add that the lithosphere is made up of rocks. In one word, could you tell me what the hydrosphere is made out of? Water. And in one word, could you tell me what the atmosphere is made out of? Air. I want you guys to remember those more than all the other stuff. Lithosphere is made out of rocks and dirt. Hydrosphere is made out of water. Atmosphere is made out of air. So if you weren't here yesterday, you can get all of these vocab words on the PowerPoint that I have the whole video posted on Teams already. So that's that. Now I'd like you to grab your reference table. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about these layers. And I'm going to add that to my board that I should have had you take out your chapter 2 packet. And remember that your reference table is called your ESRT, Earth Science Reference Tables. If you, once you have your reference tables in front of you, we are going for the front page bottom of the reference table, right down here. If we take a look at the title of this chart, in fact, called the average chemical composition of the Earth's crust, hydrosphere, and troposphere. So first of all, do you know what the word composition means? No? Anybody know what composition means? Good thing we asked. It's what it's made out of. So composition is what it's made out of. Now, we literally just said lithosphere is made out of rocks, hydrosphere is made out of water, and the troposphere is made out of air. This table goes into a little bit more detail. I do, however, now this doesn't say lithosphere. Remember from your notes that the lithosphere does include the crust. So this is specifically talking about the crust, which is the first few miles of the earth outside. So just like the crust of the bread, the crust is the very outside of the earth, which is part of the lithosphere. Remember, you just told me the crust is made out of rocks. Hydrosphere is made out of water. Troposphere is made out of air. And yes, I do want you guys to put those little labels on there just to help you remember. So it says rocks, water, air, if you can't see that. So they've got some common elements listed here on this page. Now, do you guys know what elements are in the basic sense? What do you need, Drake? You need your reference table out. Yeah, so elements. If you recall, you need to know the basic things about elements. They're just what other stuff is made out of. If you don't remember from 8th grade or 6th grade, maybe do you remember the periodic table of elements that I have over there on the wall? No, it doesn't sound familiar. Do you just know it exists? That's all I need you to know this year. That's it. Is that when I talk about elements, I'm talking about those guys over there. Can you guys name a common element? Hydrogen. Keep going. That's actually a compound that's made out of carbon and oxygen are the elements. Got one? Huh? Zinc is an element. Silver is an element. Gold's an element. Oxygen's an element. Iron's an element. So you do not need to know any of that off the top of your head this year. If you go on to chemistry, that's when you're going to have to start knowing that stuff. We'll talk about these elements for the most part. So we take some of the very common elements that you'll find in Earth. And again, just know these are off the periodic table from over there. But I give you the name and their symbol. Next year, you'll have to memorize that O equals oxygen. I think you guys already know that. So you can see some very common ones. I don't think any of these guys at least sound brand spanking new to you. So those are very, very common elements. Now you can see that the crust has listing for a whole bunch of those. What do you think it means that there's a blank here for nitrogen and hydrogen? It didn't what? Not that it didn't work. No, so these are so again, from the title, this is the average chemical composition, what they're made out of. So the crust is made out of some of these elements. Same with the hydrosphere and the troposphere. Actually, the hydrosphere is probably the easiest one to look at. You guys know that the hydrosphere is made out of water. Check out the elements that the hydrosphere is made out of. Is that surprising to anyone? Why is that not surprising? H2O. Water is H2O. So that's just hydrogen and oxygen. So that's the only things that you'll find. There is some other in there, but what do these blanks then mean? They don't have any. You will not find any silicon, aluminum, iron, or calcium. If you want to put zeros in there, you can. They literally were just saving ink. Okay, they just didn't put any numbers or letters there because there is none. So you can see the crust has a lot more elements than everything else. The crust is broken up into by mass and by volume. It just truly means that out of all of the mass of the crust, 46.1 of it, 1% of it is oxygen. But if we go by volume, so how big something is, you can see that oxygen takes up a huge amount of space in the Earth's crust. It is 94.04. Now, did you guys know that oxygen had a mass and a volume? Did you know that oxygen can be solid? This is actually solid oxygen here in the Earth's crust. So just to keep that in mind. This reference table is so easy to use. They will truly ask you, hey kid, how much hydrogen by volume is in the hydrosphere? Would you be able to answer that? So let me say it again. Hey kid, how much percent by volume is hydrogen in the hydrosphere? You literally go to the hydrosphere, look for hydrogen, and there's the number, 66%. So this is going to actually be your homework. If you skip ahead to page 3 here, page 3 and page 4 is going to be your homework. It does look like a lot. It is 25 questions. We will end nice and early for you to get started on it. But let's do this first one together. Blank is the most abundant element in the Earth's hydrosphere. Before we get started, do you know what the word abundant means? What do we think it is? Not necessarily most important, but just most. The one that is the most in the hydrosphere. So take a look at the hydrosphere. There's only 3 choices. The 66, but is 66 the answer? Hydrogen is the most abundant. So that is as simple as it'll be. It'll just be, obviously you have to use your reference table to do this. I do not know these answers off the top of my head. I do not expect you to. Some of you might know some of them. In fact, can you guys do question 2? What is the chemical symbol for calcium? Yeah. Now, how do you write that? Capital C, lowercase a. So when dealing with elements, those of you who like to write in capital letters or all lowercase letters, when dealing with elements, you do have to follow the rules. The first letter is always capital. If there is a second letter, it is always lowercase. Capital C, capital A would be carbon, and I don't know what capital A is, but I'm sure it's something. So make sure you follow those rules. We will come back to this. If you could all now turn to page, so this must be page 5. We are about to start maps. And I'm guessing a bunch of you already know a whole bunch about latitude and longitude. You've done this since you guys were little kids in social studies. You may have started it in science. We are just going to be taking the basics and 10th grading it up once again. But let me ask you the basics. Do you guys know which way is which? Which way is latitude? Could you use your arms to show me latitude? Does anybody remember? These are the flat ones. Latitude, flatitude, or latitude, latitude, which means like ladder. So latitudes are the flat ones, which makes longitude the up and down on a globe. So it sounds like we need some reviewing, obviously. So how I want to do these next couple things here is if you turn your page. This is where we're going to be putting our notes for latitude and longitude. So for right now, we're going to just find these answers in the reading. I don't want you writing anything on this page yet, because as you can see, I'm not giving you a lot of space to write. I don't want you guys to write extra on here. I want just the basics on this page. So what I'm going to ask you to do once we get started in here is to go in the reading and either highlight, underline, or star these answers in the reading. So I'm having you look for latitude and longitude. Where is 0 degrees? I want a name of that place. The lines are called, previously you probably just called them lines of latitude and lines of longitude. They have fancier names now. The appearance, I already drew those in for you because I've discovered that people sometimes had issues with drawing. The lines measure degrees what? And the highest degree and the name for each one of those. We're going to do the miscellaneous. If you find anything, you can highlight it. We'll do that one together. So again, just take a few minutes and go look for those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers about longitude and latitude in the reading. So let's go through this. What is the name of the place? Somebody raise your hand. I saw everybody highlighting. Raise your hand or I'll call on you because I know everybody was working. Okay, so remember when I mentioned yesterday that your average on the test on Friday was a little bit lower than some of my other classes? And I do think it has to do with class participation. And you gotta not just wait for the same 2, 3, 4 people to answer. So thank you guys, but I'm just gonna call on people. What do you got? Oh, Brody. I don't even remember which one I asked. Which one are you telling me, latitude or longitude? Longitude, you got it. 0 degrees is the prime meridian. Did I spell that right? Meridian. Meridian. Yep. That's an R-I. Lizzie, what was the 0 degrees latitude? Carter, did you get 0 degrees latitude? Yeah, it's on the page 6 is latitude. No, you got it, Avery? That one's the equator. And it is still going to be acceptable to call them lines of latitude and lines of longitude. However, the regions will use some other fancier names. Miley, did you catch the longitude lines are also called? No, not for just the regular old lines. Virginia, did you catch that one? Lines are called for the lines of longitude. All right, guys, let's go back to the reading. So I'm curious, did we actually read this or did you just try to skim through it? Because when we read through this, it says the longitude is the distance in degrees measured east or west of the prime meridian. The reference line which passes, reference line for longitude is the prime meridian, which passes through Greenwich, England. Meridians are the imaginary semicircles on Earth's surface, which converge at the poles. So they're not officially called lines of longitude. They are called meridians. So I guess we'll stick with longitude first. In there, I read, I believe already, which way they run. They actually do not run east to west. That's not what the reading says. Meridians are semicircles which converge at the poles. As one travels east or west from the prime meridian, the longitude increases until it reaches a maximum of 180 degrees, which roughly follows the 180 meridian. So which way do they go? Up and down. That's how I would like you to write that. So up and down or vertical. They do not run east to west, and that's where people get confused. These actually run north to south, but I don't want to use that phrase. What I mean by them running north to south is they start at the North Pole and they run to the South Pole. All of them, even as you go around, they all touch at the North Pole and they all touch at the South Pole, which is what you should be noticing here in the drawings. So the appearance, when I say that this is the equatorial view, it means you're holding the globe in front of you and looking straight at the equator. The polar view means you are hovering over the North Pole and looking down at the globe. It's like you're in a drone over the North Pole. You'd be able to see that all the lines converge there. From the reading, which I already just covered, what do the lines of longitude measure? Oh, they measured degrees east or degrees west of the prime meridian. So that's where the east or west comes in. The prime meridian is 0 degrees. And if you go over towards the east, you are east of the prime meridian. And if you go west of the prime meridian, obviously you are west of the prime meridian. So you'll have a west longitude. What's the highest degree found for lines of longitude? That's 180. And did you catch the name of that? Yes. The international dateline. How about latitude? We already did 0 degrees latitude. What are those lines called? Go back if you hadn't gotten that far. Go see if you can find what the lines of latitude are called. What do you got? They are called parallels of latitude. Right, that's parallels, that's an S. Parallels of latitude. Why do you think they're called parallels? Because they're parallel. Why don't we call longitude parallel? Because they're not parallel. That's really important news there. So lines of latitude, these guys run side to side or horizontal. So these would be this way, which you can see in the drawings. Again, they start at the equator and lines go up parallel to the equator. And when you look at the North Pole, you can see that they make circles around the poles. Lines of latitude measure degrees north or degrees south of the equator. And what is the highest degree you can have? Yeah, you got it, Max? Yeah. 90 degrees north and 90 degrees south. So anybody know what those places are called? Yeah, those are the poles. We got the North Pole and the South Pole. All right. We will get to the miscellaneous tomorrow. I would like to give you the remainder 10 minutes to get a good start on your homework, which I'm sorry I didn't post yet. It's pages 3 and 4. I just remembered on the bottom of page 4, if you guys could just give me your attention real quick. On the bottom of page 4, right here, it says right after 25, that's where you're going to stop. Forgot we were supposed to start today with making sure you knew the coordinate system. So you're going to stop after question 25. So you got a good 10 minutes to work on your homework, which is pages 3 and 4. You obviously need your reference table to do these.